So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Developer General Session at Edge 2017. As you can see from around you, our team has really gone one step beyond to bring an amazing and engaging developer experience to Edge this year. I wanted to start and kick things off. By the way, I'm Corey Scobie. I'm Vice President of Open Platform and Product Experience here at Akamai. And I wanted to kick things off for the first of our two general sessions today because this topic is very near and dear to my heart. 4 years ago, we launched the Open Platform Initiative at Edge 2013, and it was really all about, and started the journey of making the power of the Akamai platform accessible to you, the builders of the future. And as you can see, our theme here in the developer zone is building the future. So, as you saw in the video intro we just played, we recognize the role that developers play in shaping the future. From cities in the early days now to the entire online world that we've created. Builders have been at the forefront, and here at Akamai, our job is to give you the best tools that we can to realize your dreams. So this leads me to one of the really exciting things about being part of Akamai, and that is that we get to interact with you, our customers. More specifically, we get to work directly with the developer community that's leading the way, building the future of your various industries and businesses, and in many cases, the cloud and the internet at large as well. In this session today and throughout the day, we're going to discuss the ways that we are working to enable you developers to build the future with the power of the Akamai platform at your fingertips. And for those non-developers out there, don't be alarmed, we've got you covered too. With the admin general session later this afternoon and tons of content throughout the week as well. So with that, I'd like to once again welcome everybody to the Developer General Session. And at this point, I'm going to turn the program over to Nick Tran, our Vice President of Developer Relations, to take us through it. Nick. All right, man.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Build the Future. I'm just so excited to be here because this is our first ever Developer General Session. I'm so excited about the Developer Zone. It's just like we've been working on this for months, and this is all for you. But what I'm most excited about is what we're going to be sharing with you around all the advancements we've made with our products for developers. And for admins, as you heard Corey mentioned earlier, we got some great announcements for admins as well, and that's taking place here on this stage at 3:40 p.m. And definitely stick around for that. Furthermore, we're going to be raffling off an Xbox later at the end of this session, so definitely stick around. And if you haven't gotten your raffle tickets, go grab one of our staffers. They'll be more than happy to hook you up. So it's my belief that when admins and developers are working together and they're at the top of their game, like lots of really great things happen, and that's how you go about building the future. But in this session, let's focus on developers, and that's many of you here. Who's a developer? Let me see a show of hands. That's good. I think I'm at the right session. It's good to have developers at the Developer General Session. So the way we see it is that software is eating the world, and at the forefront of that are developers. You all are making it happen. You're pushing the boundaries of building digital experiences, right? You're building and delivering some of the world's largest websites. The majority of the top e-commerce sites are on Akamai. Last year alone, we delivered, because of you, over 850 million games to players all around the globe. That's pretty impressive. And then we have one of our customers that delivers 25,000 live events. And again, that's primarily because of developers and admins. So before we talk about the new stuff, I want to take a few moments to review some of the key milestones we achieved the past couple months. Starting with Akamai by the numbers, 7 exabytes of image data. 13 exabytes of video data, and a whopping 77 exabytes of data delivered via the Akamai platform. Again, because of developers and because of admins. And to put that into perspective, one exabyte is a billion gigabytes. And another way to look at it is that this represents 77 exabytes represents a 4,000, basically 4,000 US Library of Congresses. All the images they store, all the text that they have, all the video. That's only 20 petabytes. So pretty impressive numbers. And because this is a developer general session, let's also talk about the API traffic. And let me be clear here, this is API traffic that you are delivering to your customers. These are your endpoints making the transaction hits. And on average, what we saw over the past 12 months were 3 million API hits per second. That's pretty amazing. Again, a total of 102 trillion API hits, all because of developers, people like you setting up those endpoints, making the integrations happen. Again, 2017 has been a pretty phenomenal year for us. So I want to hit a few highlights in this part of the presentation, starting with the API improvements. If you don't know it, probably the most powerful API that we have, and sometimes unwieldy, is our Property Manager API. That allows you to create, delete, clone, configuration. This is where you go. This is the API you would use in order to manage your property configurations. It's an absolute must for developers. And the key thing here with the Property Manager API is that we finally released it in GA back in June. And it came basically with 3 big improvements. Number 1, just much better performance, much faster, especially with complex configurations. And second thing was that we made it super easy, or a lot easier for you to search for your property configurations via host name or your edge server name, as opposed to traversing your entire hierarchy tree in order to find the property configuration that you're looking for. We actually have a customer with lots and lots of configurations, and it used to be that they would take 4,000 or 5,000 API calls in order to find the property that they were looking for. With the new search endpoint, it's now down to 1. And the last thing is, which I think many of you are going to be really excited about, is our support for advanced metadata reuse. Some of you have it right now in preview. It's called custom behaviors, and the rest of you will be getting it very soon. And then the other API I want to cover is Fast Purge, which allows you to update your content in less than 5 seconds. And the improvement we made here is that we now allow you to purge by URL. And if you want to purge by groups of content, you can do so by CP code or cache tags, which is currently in preview. So the other things I want to highlight here are some of the integrations we've been making. Terraform, WordPress, Varnish. I know many of you have asked us about Terraform in particular. And we've been pushing out some updates recently that allows you to create, delete, and update your configuration from Terraform. It's available on GitHub. Go to developer.akamai.com. You want to find out more information. One of my favorite announcements throughout the year was the Akamai CLI. We have a whole slide and demo around it, so I won't go into it very much. But what it is our brand new command line interface that allows you to manage and configure and purge, and we'll be adding more functionality later, all from the command line. So we've wrapped up our APIs in a way so that you can make the invocation all from the command prompt, and it's super easy to use. So if you haven't used the Akamai CLI, definitely go check it out. And then the last point, Akamai for DevOps. I know it's kind of new for a lot of you, but this is an important initiative for us. And what we understand is that DevOps is a really important, there's really is a really important trend within the developer community. Companies, development teams are being asked to deliver software faster than ever. Like all of us have been asked to do that. And DevOps is one of those things that help you go about delivering your software quickly, more agile, and with much better quality. And even Forrester has declared that in 2017 is the year of DevOps. And then more recently, they declared that, DevOps is actually mainstream. More than 50% of all companies are adopting or have adopted DevOps. And we're not just talking about startups or tech unicorns, we're talking about all sorts of companies, large and small. And what is Akamai doing about that, or doing with DevOps? What I'd like to do now is invite Sid Packer on the stage, one of our product managers on DevOps, to walk you through Akamai for DevOps.
Hi, everyone. Nick talked about 2017 being the year of DevOps, and within Akamai, we are taking this super, super seriously. Let me first start off by asking, how many of you talk about DevOps in your conversations in your organizations today? A fair number, almost 90 to every one of you. And so everyone I talk to, even over the last couple of days, everyone's got a different definition of what DevOps is. I was talking to my mom on the phone the other day. She owns a flip phone. We were chatting, and at some point she went, this is what I think DevOps is. And everyone's got their own opinion, so I wanted to lay the vision of what does Akamai for DevOps even mean. Our goal with DevOps is to integrate Akamai to work inside your environments at your speed, at your scale. Essentially what this means is every capability that we put out there just plugs into your architecture. Akamai just snaps as another component within your architecture. And we are looking at 3 things as part of this. The first one is to make everything we build completely automatable. So that means making it programmable, making it repeatable, making it a part of your scripts. The second one is automation is fine. The need to go faster is completely fine, but you want to make sure you have the ability to monitor everything that's happening real time. And real time is the key word over here. And we've got a huge focus area on that. And finally, as you're up and running, as you look to do your everyday edge operations, you want to operate with a lot of efficiency. And so everything we look at under the operate bucket falls under that category. So what does this all translate to? This is your traditional CI/CD pipeline. You guys have seen this a million times before. You've got a bunch of third-party tools that you use to automate your scripts, automate your pipeline, development release. What we aim to do is essentially make every capability that we build a part of that. Now, this is a lot of content on one slide. And what we are aiming to do, I'll break this down as we go along. But really what I wanted this slide to portray is our commitment to you as you go about your DevOps journey and look to integrate Akamai into your CI/CD pipelines. Let me start off by automation and talk about some of the key things we've done over there this year. Our biggest commitment to automation is our API philosophy. Right now within the company, we have this philosophy that everything we build needs to come with an API. Anything that you do in the portal today, you should be able to do via APIs. We are about 80% of the journey there, and by the middle of next year, we expect to be completely there. And you can talk to these APIs in the client and signing libraries of your choice. One of the key APIs that we talked about is the Property Manager API. Fondly within the company, we call it PAPI. PAPI is your gateway to your Akamai config. What PAPI allows you to do is download your Akamai config as code, check this into your Git repository, source control it, version control it, make a bunch of changes, and then put it back into Akamai. And really what Pappy aims to do is to make sure you treat your Akamai code as any other piece of code that you would in your pipeline. We've got the Akamai CLI, which is built on top of Pappy and a bunch of other APIs. The CLI aims to make your life even easier, and I'm going to hold off on that, build a little bit more suspense on that, because we are going to demo that very, very shortly. Automation is important, but it's nothing without speed. And our fast activation and early validation initiatives are aimed around exactly that. Fast activation times are now down to about 10 minutes for all property manager properties. And we want to enable you to go even faster. Early validation is our initiative to let you start validating your changes about 5 minutes in today. This is available to everyone today, so if you hit an activate on your properties today, you should see it. Definitely come find us, talk to us about it more as well. And then we've got automation when it comes to talking to a lot of plugins. A lot of you we've spoken to have talked about how Terraform is super important to you, and we've got an Akamai plugin for Terraform, demoable at that booth over there. And finally, custom behaviors that lets you reuse a lot of your advanced metadata across configs. Let me get to monitoring now. What have we done in that space? When you look at monitoring, our goal is to ensure that as you release faster, you have that real-time visibility so you can react to anything that happens in real time. And so we are looking at it from a 360-degree point of view. We've got SIM integration that gives you security insights. We've got Impulse that lets you tie a lot of your changes to how it impacts end user behavior. So things like click rates, bounce rates. How do the changes you make every day tie into what's happening with regards to your business insights? And data stream, which goes into beta today, in fact, and that will allow you to have real user insights into your CDN behavior. So things like traffic volumes, response rates, you can now plug your data stream API either into the raw logs or get it as a summarized stats and kinds with trends in terms of a more aggregated data set. Super excited about all of that, but none of that matters as long as you don't have that, oh crap, I did something wrong, I want to go back to my previous version route. And fast fallback that we are announcing and is available to everyone today enables you to fall back to your last property version in case something goes wrong in about 4 minutes. We also have cloud test that lets you test a lot of your use cases a lot more earlier in your CI/CD pipeline process. And finally, operational efficiency. Nick already talked about fast purge. I won't get into it. Key theme here is, again, more efficiency, more speed, more control. We even have a WordPress purge plugin that you can use today. And then we've got always looked at edge logic as a form to enable you to be a lot more efficient, a lot more productive at the edge. So we got the application load balancer that went GA about a month back. Our cloudlets are still active. You can demo them at the booths over there. And for any of you who've been ESI fans, we've modernized that as well. The ESI test server is now available in a container in our open source Git repository. But let me stop talking about just what we've announced and actually make this more real. I'm going to call on Kirsten, who's the brains behind our CLI, to do a quick demo of how this actually works.
It's great to be here and talking about the Akamai CLI. You may have heard us talk about it in various different places here in the dev zone and possibly elsewhere. I want to tell you what it is because it's not necessarily obvious. The CLI is a package manager that allows you to install, run, and update many different commands that use the Akamai APIs on the back end, so you can run those commands from the command line without writing any code. It's open source, and it is community supported, but of course, Akamai is leading the charge. We've created the first few packages, And we're looking to create more ourselves, but we are also hoping that our community of developers will contribute different packages based on your needs for working with our system. So what's available right now? Well, the first thing that's available is Purge. If you've worked with our Purge API, you've probably noted that it's not very challenging to use. However, using the Purge API does mean that you need to write some code. And a lot of our customers want to just be able to purge stuff from the command line so that they can automate it and not have to write code specifically for that purpose. So the Purge API allows you to simply purge a file, a list of files by CP code, and upcoming we're going to add the new cache tags functionality that's available for fast purge. The second thing that's available, and the one I'm most excited about, is the Property Manager package. Now this package allows you to do the most common tasks you want to do with Property Manager. Now, the Property Manager API is fantastic. It is fully functional. It can do everything the Property Manager in Luna can do. And that's fantastic for a lot of our customers. However, a lot of our customers did say, this is too overwhelming. This is too much work. We don't really want to take the time to write the code. So we created the CLI for Property Manager to go through all of the things that you would do in a normal CI/CD property pipeline. So you create, you can update, you can modify it, you can activate it and deactivate it, and you can delete it. So this allows you to go with configuration as code, where you have your rules, you make a change, those changes are pushed out to Jenkins. Jenkins sees that they're there, creates that temporary property for you, runs it all the way through activation, and now you can test to see what's happening. And when you're done, you can just toss it away. It's much easier to work with, and it's possible to automate this process. But that's not as exciting as seeing things work. So let me just get this going. Shoot. All right, so I'm on the basic command line. I'm going to go ahead and look at what Akamai property can do. Now, the command line interface wrapper takes a command and possibly an action depending on what it is that you want to do. So in this case, what we're going to do for the demo is I'm going to create a temporary property. I'm going to make a quick modification to it. We'll demonstrate that that worked, and then I'll delete it when we're done. So Akamai property, create devzone.example.com, and we'll clone an existing property. You can see I put Jenkins in there, and in fact, we have a Jenkins job that runs to test and make sure that our code is going well. Many of our customers do use Jenkins as well, and I'll show you the configuration before I'm done so that you can see how easy it is to automate this. So what this is doing is it creates the new property. The first thing it does is it looks at the clone property, and it pulls the CP code and the origin. It creates the property, pulls the property rules, makes those changes, puts them back, and then, oh, it's done. I have a new property. All right, so let's go ahead and make sure that I actually have a new property and that I'm not making things up. Retrieve. We'll get the rules for the property. And I'm just going to pipe it through more, because what I want to do is I want to show you what the origin is. We're going to go ahead and change the origin from the command line so that you can see how easy it is to do that. See how fast that was? The Property Manager API changes recent changes have made a huge difference in the performance and usability. And the CLI simply takes advantage of that. So you can see that the host name here is colinbendel.com, right there. But we want to change it. We want to make it something else. So I'm going to modify the property. I could show you the property in Luna, but that's, I don't know, less exciting for me. So origin, origin.devzone.example.com. And again, you can see that this is a really quick process. It's going to take maybe 10 seconds total to do this change to this property. From the command line, something you can totally automate. It's done. We'll go ahead and look at the rules again. All right, and you can see that it is now origin.devzone.example.com right here. So the change definitely happened. If we looked at it in Luna, we would see the same thing. But before I go ahead and show you the Jenkins setup, I'll just point out, I'm going to go ahead and delete this property because I don't like to leave things lying around. So Akamai property delete devzone.example.com. Again, this is very, very quick. Super quick. All right, I know, yay. All right, so let me go ahead and show you the Jenkins setup. And I'm just going to display it here. So you're going to create, retrieve, update, activate, deactivate, and delete. In fact, delete will take care of the deactivation for you. If your property is activated, it will deactivate it before it deletes it. These are very simple command line. The most complicated thing here is the Jenkins environment variable that I'm using. So the CLI is a great example of the dedication that we have to the DevOps world. And we're going to continue to improve things. If you get a hold of this, you can get it from github.com/Akamai/CLI. Please do give us feedback about things that you would like to see added. What is it you want to change about your properties? What other kinds of functionality would be useful for you? You're our community, and we want to make sure that it meets your needs. So thanks so much. And Nick?
Awesome. Good job.
Thanks.
So a quick question. You know, like what you showed there in the CLI, if you were to code it within Python, how many lines of code would that take approximately?
Oh, that's a great question. Just coding creation all by itself would take around a couple hundred lines of code, and it would require a lot of different API calls. The whole thing would probably be a few thousand to do all of the functionality that I created here.
That's pretty amazing. And again, how do I get my hands on the CLI?
So you get your hands on the CLI by going to github.com/Akamai/CLI, and a little plug for my section of the Dev Zone. You can play with the CLI over there in the hands-on labs when it's not full, because it's awesome. So, so please do take a look and play with it. I'm really excited to hear what people do with it.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, do you want to hang out here for
Sure.
a second? Oh. Forgot the clicker. So what I want to talk now briefly, and actually give it back to Kirsten, is just talk about APIs again. Remember the statistics. We helped deliver 102 trillion APIs over the last 12 months. Again, that's thanks to all the developers and admins in the room that made that possible. But what if you could have a lot more control over it? What if you could be more smart about how you would gate access to your APIs? What if you could authenticate access to the APIs around the edge? What if you can limit the number of hits to the API so that it doesn't take down your origin server? So we have a really fantastic new product, and I'd like to turn it back to Kirsten to walk us through it.
So I'm excited to get to talk about this product. APIs are my first love, as many people who know me understand. So we deliver a lot of web traffic. I think we can all agree that we're great at delivering web traffic. But it turns out that a lot of that traffic is API traffic. And while it works okay as web traffic, our customers need a better way to configure and control the access to those API endpoints. And they asked us for a way to configure and manage those APIs outside of the normal Luna interface, because they have developers who need to control the configuration of a particular set of APIs, but they don't necessarily want that developer to have the full access to all of the property manager features and possibly make a breaking change to their property. So we created the API Gateway. The API Gateway is a fantastic set of features which allow you to control the logic and validation and authentication at the edge. In fact, we even support JWT, so you can do your authentication completely on our edge servers. And that's right, it's at the edge. That means that you have over 200,000 servers doing this work for you. Your customers are getting such a better experience. Even then, if we serve the APIs as web traffic, because we know what kind of traffic it is, we know what you want to do with that endpoint, we know what a valid request looks like, we know how the authentication works. If you want to get started with it, and you have a RAML or Swagger schema model describing your API, you can actually just ingest that directly into the system to pre-populate all of the endpoints and get started working with the API Gateway. So the API Gateway allows you to really control your API traffic in a meaningful way while keeping the rest of your property safe from unexpected changes. Nick?
All right. Thank you very much, Kirsten. Round of applause for Kirsten Hunter.
Thanks.
So we talked about building apps, building websites. We talked about APIs. We talked about DevOps. Now let's talk about performance. And this announcement is about speed. Speed. And did I say speed? So what we'd like to share with you now is some updates to our existing products that has to do with website optimization. And so what we're introducing now today is Adaptive Acceleration 2.0. At the heart of this of A2 is a brand new learning engine that utilizes real user data. It looks back a couple hours and decides to, which websites to which web pages, which resource to optimize. And with automatic push and automatic pre-connect, we can determine which of those resources to be, that could, that doesn't have to, you don't have to wait until the end of the page to be loaded in order to load some of those resources. You can load them in parallel. So we're really excited about the learning engine, automatic push, automatic pre-connect. But where I really want to spend some time is resource optimizer and script management. Now we have image manager, and websites are getting heavier and bigger because a lot of them have a lot of images. But the other thing that you need to consider are like your CSS, your JavaScript files. And resource optimizer is basically image manager for everything else that's not images. So it leverages the data compression algorithm Zopfli and Brotli in order to reduce the size of your cache CSS and JavaScript, anywhere from 5 to 25%. And the best part of this is that you don't have to modify anything at all on your origin in order to take advantage of this. And of course, every web page today, every website today utilizes tons and tons of third-party scripts. We have a brand new tool called script management. And what it does is that it can identify what these scripts are, how are they performing, and lets you take action. So if a script is performing slowly, loading slowly, or maybe not responding at all, you can take basically, you can take two actions. You can defer the loading of the script until the critical path is done, or you can completely block it. So this is a really, really amazing tool that we're going to be making available very soon. It's currently in beta. But the most exciting thing about adaptive acceleration is how easy it is to use. Basically, 3 toggle switches turn these things on and off. And of course, you could do this manually, right? You can use third-party tools to understand how your website's performing and introspect your JavaScript and all of that. But that's time-consuming. It's also not very scalable. With adaptive acceleration, we can do this for all your web pages and all your websites. So as important it is to focus on building apps and websites, it's also really important to understand what is going on with your systems and websites. So we have a couple tools. Some of them are new. That gives you real-time visibility into what's going on. Starting on my right side is data stream. If you're interested in how your CDN or your offload is behaving, or when you're spinning up a new configuration and activating it and want to know in real time, we have a brand new API, and that's called the data stream API. That's currently available in beta. And on my far left-hand side is we have now a bunch of connectors that make it easy for you to retrieve security events as they happen and bring it into your security monitoring solution. So we have a SIM connector for Splunk, for any basically system that uses Ceph or syslog. And of course, we also have an API for this for SIMs. So you can actually integrate it with basically anything. And our newest product, thanks to our SOSA acquisition, is Impulse. And with Impulse, what we're going to give you is like visibility into what's happening with your website in real time. And with that, I like to bring on Buddy Brewer, our Director of Product Management, to walk you through what it means for developers for a monitoring standpoint with Impulse.
Thanks, Bud. Thanks very much, Nick. And so for those of you who saw the keynote this morning, you saw Impulse introduced on the main stage. And so as you know, Impulse is a real user monitoring product that's designed to help people find and fix problems with performance that are interfering with revenue. And so the way that works, for most people, it's a piece of JavaScript that you just drop in your web page, and it collects every single user experience as those users are moving through the site. Every time that user has an experience, we collect over 200 facts and then send that back to our warehouse for analysis in real time. And so when you consider how those facts break down, they're really in 2 categories. About half of what we're interested in is all of the performance metrics like DNS resolution, server latency, time to first byte, all the resources in the page, all that stuff that you're used to seeing from a monitoring tool. But then there's the other half of the metrics, which are focused on customer behavior. So how long did they spend on the site? How many things did they click on? Did they add something to their cart or check out? How much money did they spend? How many ads did they look at? Did they complete a sign up? All those types of things. And then we can correlate all that information. And so what I want to talk about today, though, and drill down on a specific piece of Impulse, is this notion that it's not just a product that's designed for operations managers and business analysts. It's also highly, highly useful to developers. And particularly today, I want to focus on 3 features of Impulse that I think are particularly relevant to developers. And the first one are real user waterfall charts. So I'm sure everyone here is familiar with waterfall charts and all of the information that's available in them with regard to how long it took for the base page to download, all the resources. You can spot front-end single points of failure, third parties that are performing poorly, and all that stuff. But the interesting thing about the waterfall charts that are in Impulse is that they're coming from real users. They're real user experiences. So you've probably got hundreds of different browsers when you consider all of the different browser vendors, mobile, tablet, desktop, and all the different versions that come to your site, and we capture every single one of those and generate a waterfall chart that we store for later. All the geographies, all the pages, all the URLs, and all that stuff. And so what this becomes is essentially a search engine of user traces. So if you've ever had this problem where something was going wrong with performance, but you couldn't figure out what it was because you couldn't reproduce it, well, this is the search engine where you can go in and you can get all of those traces of what happened, especially all that front-end data that we collected, so that then you just go in and configure the search engine to say, give me everything that happened where, the user had an experience and it took longer than 6 seconds on the front end from a particular part of the world on a particular browser, and by the way, give me mobile. Whatever it is, wherever you think that problem is, and you can narrow it down so that you can pick the user experiences out and then dig in and see exactly what happened. So that's not just the resources, but also dimensional data, where they came from, browsers, and then even metadata, some of which you can customize as a developer so that you can tuck little facts in for later when you have to dig in and diagnose a problem. One of the ways that we can add the metadata to that waterfall, by the way, is through our support of a W3C spec called user timing. And so if you're familiar with these W3C specs for performance analysis, you're probably familiar with navigation timing and resource timing. And there's lots of tools that enable you to collect and analyze that information. That's how you're able to generate a waterfall chart from RUM data. But what may be frustrating to you is that there aren't really that many tools that actually integrate with user timing. And the way to think about user timing as a developer is that it's your way of getting all of those metrics that you wish the browser would report but doesn't. It's a way of getting that stuff into the browser. So the browser is going to tell you DNS resolution and everything through to all of the general sort of spec-related things, but what it's not going to tell you is how long it took to download from the navigation start to the most important image on the page, because the browser can't know what the most important image was on the page, can it? But I bet you as a developer do. And so user timing is your way for dropping those little breadcrumbs in and then pulling them back to analyze them later. Or let's say you have a JavaScript application where you get all the JavaScript code into the application, and then when you're ready, you launch the framework. And so you want to time how long it takes from beginning to end to execute and instantiate all of the stuff. That's not going to be reported by default in the browser, but you can put it in with user timing. And so we'll collect all of that information and let you trend on it, let you alert if something goes wrong, and pack it into that waterfall chart search engine so you can come back to diagnose problems later. And then the final thing that I want to talk about are what we're calling continuity metrics. And I think this is really, really interesting from an engineering point of view, because what we're trying to do is to help people understand the perceived performance of all of these web pages. Not just performance as measured in the traditional way for time to the onload event, but the perceived performance. So whether the onload event happened quickly or slowly, how long did it take to get visual content on the screen, enough of it so that the page is actually interesting to the user? And this is something that's notoriously difficult for browsers to do on their own. And so what we've done at Akamai is add into Impulse this very rich sort of heuristic-based framework that can be hinted by you as a developer to figure out when the page is visually ready. And so, we'll do things, like there's a way for you to insert a marker that says this hero image is one of the most important images on the screen. And so we'll pick that up if you supply it to us and use it as a hint. It also turns out that different browsers, even though there's not a W3C standard for this, like Internet Explorer tucks away in its DOM this notion of when the first paint happened. And so does Chrome, but it puts it in a different place. So one of the things that we do with Impulse is we go pick all of these different pieces that we can find that give us hints about when the page was visually ready, and then pack it all into a single common metric that we can report across all of the data so that you can use it when you're deciding how to manage the performance, the front-end performance particularly, of your pages. And then the second piece of continuity metrics is this notion of not just when was it visually ready and could I see something, but how long did it take to get to the point where I could actually do something on the page, the time to interactive. And so this is about understanding jank. And as people are loading more and more JavaScript into pages, this is becoming a bigger and bigger problem. And different browsers, depending on how modern or how old they are, provide different ways that we can understand when the page is interactive. Really, one of the emerging exciting specs is this long tasks API that helps me understand when JavaScript is hogging the event loop. And if I don't have access to the long tasks API, I can use another API that's more broadly implemented called request animation frame. There's also tricks like request idle callback and set timeout and set interval polling. And picking the right one depends on the version of the browser that you're on. And so what we've done at Akamai is figure out how to take all of those different things and again distill them all down into a common metric across all browsers that helps you know when the page was ready to be interacted with. So we include that into our data stream and then we send it back. And by the way, as a developer, if you want to further enhance our ability to detect it, you can also fire particular events that let us know that, as far as you can tell within the framework, that it's ready. All this stuff comes back into Impulse. It gets processed in real time. And then within 10 seconds, we turn it back around so you can see it live in dashboards for operational use. It's in that search engine so you can go find things for debugging later. And then, of course, if you want to, you can alert off of all that information. So yeah, as you saw this morning, and hopefully this gives you a slice of the developer features, there's just a lot that Impulse can do. And so I'd encourage you to go check it out while you're here. We've got kiosks all over the place. There's a couple of them down in the partner pavilion. There's folks up here. And so I hope everybody gets a chance to check it out and get started using Impulse. Thanks a bunch.
Quick question, buddy. So how do developers get started with Impulse today?
Turns out that if you want to get started right now, and I encourage you to, it's incredibly easy because all you have to do is go to akamai.com/tryimpulse, TRYMPULSE. And there's a page there that has all the instructions for you to get started. And basically what it nets out to is going on a marketplace and you can put yourself into a trial and tag your site today if that's what you want to do.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.
We're almost there. Xbox is waiting for you. So what we're going to talk now is about mobile. I mean, there is no debate. Like, everyone is building mobile apps. Oftentimes, they're building mobile only or mobile first. And Akamai totally recognizes that. And as a result, we announced the mobile application SDK last year. And that was made available to a subset of our customers. The announcement we're making today is that we're now making that mobile application performance SDK available to all IAM customers. So that's some really big news. And to help me talk about the mobile application SDK and give you a demo, I'd like to invite Alan on stage, our mobile developer advantage, to walk us through this.
Thanks, Nick. Hey everybody, my name is Aman. I'm a developer evangelist with Akamai, and I'm very happy to be here with you guys. So a lot of us mobile developers have spent considerable amount of time making sure that our apps looks pretty and they consume less memory. But we at Akamai want to go a step further and make sure that your apps are accessing internet at super fast speeds. That's what Mobile Application Performance SDK does for you. We also call it Map SDK. Let's quickly look at some of the features that Map SDK has. There are 6 of them that you can see right now. I'll cover a few of them. One of the most exciting features of Map SDK is fast TCP, where all the requests that the Map SDK sends from your app to our servers have a special header appended. According to that header, the correct TCP profile is applied, along with checking what's the real-time network quality availability on the app, and the TCP profile is optimized according to that before sending the response. So your apps and the whole network communication doesn't have to gradually increase the TCP profile. It's very incredible. It has shown us great performance improvement, and the best part is you don't have to write anything. There's no code that you write. Our backend and our SDK takes care of that. Next, let's talk about network awareness. So fast TCP works on the server end, but what if you could understand how the app is having the network quality on the devices end? That's what network awareness does for you. So on your devices running Map SDK, you can just do a method call and understand in 3 simple values what is the network condition right now. The network condition could be excellent, good, or poor, and these values are configurable. Based on these values, you can take decisions such as, if the network quality is poor, maybe I will not load 200 results. I'll just load 20 results in a single page, for example. Or if the network quality is excellent, I'll load the big image I want to download right now. So network quality is grateful for you. It also helps Akamai SDK to do certain things like applying fast TCP. And along with this, there are multiple more features. And along with that, we have a good dashboard, lots of analytics, and lots of reporting makes you understand really well what your app is going through right now. We have created a reference application called Urban Crawl to demonstrate how Map SDK can be used in your code. We have that as app right now in our booth. You can come down and see more of it. Now let's quickly see and turn over on my laptop and see how Map SDK has helped us get some performance improvements while building the reference hub that you have built. So over to my laptop now, please. All right, so I have two emulators here. One on your right doesn't have map installed. Let's see how long it takes to load the things in that one. All right, almost 12 seconds with the images. Let's see what Map SDK does for us here. Probably a lot of people on the Wi-Fi right now. 7 seconds. So here we see a considerable performance improvement. This is not just on this particular screen. On all the successive screens, we continue to see great performance improvements when we use Map SDK. Here we see the app without the Map SDK total took around 4 seconds, and the one with the Map SDK takes around 1.8 seconds. Map SDK also gives you values on the network, whether it's excellent, good, or poor, as you can see it here. This app will be your PAL. You can see the source code of it. We're making it available for you for the iPhone and Android, and we're making the app go live in the App Store so that you can download and play with it. If you want to play with the apps right now, they're available on the booth here, the mobile section here. I'm there, my friends are there, and we can tell you more about how the app works and how the Map SDK can make your lives easier. So it's great to meet you guys. We'll see you on the booth, and thank you for now. Back to you, Nick.
Thank you, Aman. Quick question.
Yeah.
So if I'm interested in getting access to the reference app, how do I go about getting it?
So the app is available in preview right now. The source code will be available early week.
Okay.
And we'll notify everybody through Twitter or other places when the source is available.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We're gonna bring it home now. So last night I had dinner with 3 developers, and they all shared with me some interesting interesting tools and utilities and scripts that they've built in order to get more from Akamai. I'm like, this is amazing. Like I show up to a dinner and had a conversation with 3 developers I normally don't interact with, and each and every single one of them had something to share. One of them shared with me that they wrote a script in order to understand precisely how their cache hits is being affected when they push out a new product configuration. Another one shared with me that they wrote a script in order to do URL redirects even before we had the cloud redirector cloudlet available. So I thought that was really impressive. And the last developer, I think I saw him earlier, he wrote a script to spoof URLs in order to test his product configuration changes on the Akamai staging server in an automated fashion. So I thought that was really incredible. So the point here that I'm trying to make is that developers, this is why I love working with developers. Like they're constantly innovating, they're pushing the boundaries. And what we want to do is open up nominations for like amazing developers and start recognizing many of you in the community. I've talked to many of you over the last couple months that I've been here at Akamai, and again, amazing stories and tools that you've shared with me. So what we want to do here is open nominations in the next couple days, and then we're going to do a vetting process over the next couple of weeks, and then identify our first class of Akamai MVPs. So we're going to be looking at technical expertise, that's a given, community involvement and leadership. Are you out there in the community? Are you sharing your code on GitHub? I understand sometimes your work may not allow you to do things so publicly, but if you're sharing amongst your coworkers, your peers, like all really good stuff. I mean, look at this developer zone this year. It's 3 times as big as what we did last year, and already like the hands-on lab is completely full, and I apologize about that, but like there's real developer activity that's happening. So we'll be in touch with many of you around the MVP program shortly. To bring it home, I'd like to invite on stage our wonderful lead for the developer zone. That's Jessica Mills. And with her, I believe, is a metal bowl.
Yeah.
Oh, and an Xbox.
No, we're giving away the bowl. So, who wants an Xbox? All right, there we go.
Try that
That's what I
again.
want to hear. Who wants an Xbox?
I think a few of them.
All right, let's see who the lucky winner is. Get your tickets out. It's 768149. All right, we'll try the next one. 768184. Seriously, guys?
Oh, there we go. Winner.
Yeah. Congrats.
Anyway, to bring it home to you guys, we totally love developers, and I cannot wait for us to build the future together. Thank you very much.